What did your friend do that accidentally turned you on? I have long hair for a guy. She asked if she could braid it. She messed up and ran her fingers through my hair to untangle it. Maybe ran her hands through my hair a bit too much and said my hair was soft edit. This was a girl I'd known for 4 years and started dating a mutual friend. I can confirm that she didn't like me that way and just wanted to mess with my hair. Me and my roommate at the time get along well with this one girl. One day she came to our apartment for some video gaming. It was getting late. My roommate had already gone to sleep. I was playing Dear Esther and she was watching next to me. All of a sudden, she laid her head on my shoulder. I developed a major crush just from that. 8 years later, when I told her about that, she just said sheepishly that she was tired, and there wasn't any intention. Suck to be her. She's my wife now. She sent me a Snapchat sitting in her car on a cold day. She blew gently out of her mouth to show her breath turning into fog and then kind of lightly smirked after. I watched it on loop probably 100 times before it disappeared forever. Something about it was so cheeky or something. I don't know how to explain it, but it's burned into my brain. Watching it 100 times might be the reason why it's burned into your brain. A friend of mine while in university asked me to take pictures of her smiling because she said she couldn't do it by herself without feeling weird. I said sure, but asked why me. She said she knew I could make her smile and laugh easier than anyone else she knew. Took about 20 pictures of her after cracking a few jokes to get her to laugh, and it was her laugh specifically that got my motor running. Had to cross my legs and just chat with her for a while before my erection went down. Still have the pictures on my old phone I think. I was at a small party with mostly acquaintances. One girl was trying to get the party going and getting people to drink. I usually don't enjoy drinking very much, but at some point she came up to me from behind, held a cup of rum and coke to my lips, tilted my head back, and said drink. I was so turned on in that moment I would have chugged the entire cup. A few friends bailed on a Disneyland trip so it was just this girl and myself and for some reason we still went, drove together. We weren't close and one of my boys was into her at the time. Anyway we were in line for Matterhorn and if you know, that seating is front to back, not side by side. We couldn't each get our own car so we had to sit together, her in front of me and between my legs. And if you know, Matterhorn is the bumpiest ride in Disneyland. Even my jeans couldn't hide it when she was bouncing up and down, in and out of my lap. The look she gave me over her shoulder with a smirk, I'll never forget it. Holy shit, this brought back a memory, haha. I was working and I couldn't reach the top shelf on my tiptoes without asking. He stretched up, just grabbed the item with full eye contact. I don't know, it was something hot about that. Was complaining about my posture to my friend. She was like, oh, I learned this trick to help my posture, let me show you, and she grabbed me by the shoulders and lightly pushed me against the wall. Then she stepped back and said, now walk forward while keeping your shoulders back or something. I don't remember. It only lasted a few seconds but I swear I didn't breathe the whole time. We were at a big event walking around. Every time she wanted to point something out to me she would lightly graze the back of my arm with her nails. It was so gentle, made me look at her and want to kiss her every time. I had basically been in love with her since I met her. I had no idea she was interested in me until she cuddled into me after the event. We're dating now. My friend offered to give me some pointers at the driving range so I would feel more comfortable at a work function. I had never swung a golf club in my life. After about 30 minutes trying to verbally describe what I was doing wrong and how to fix it, he finally put his hands on my hips and moved them correctly. I could tell he was very intentionally trying not to make it sexual, but sploosh anyway. I think a lot of guys don't understand how goddamn sexy it is when they act respectful like that. It just fucking puts thoughts into your head so easy, hahaha. 72 here. 7 years ago, I accompanied my mom, 91 then, to church. She had a friend my age who would lean over me to hug mom and invariably stick a nice soft teat into my cheek. She knew what she was doing, I knew what she was doing. She knew I knew what she was doing. It's a case of innocently acknowledging that we're still attractive to each other. At our age, we don't get much of that. I'm so grateful. By the way, if it were possible, I'd seek her company. At a Halloween party I was dressed as a king, found my friend there dressed as a cowboy. At some point we were all sitting down with drinks and vibing when he was dared to put on his best Red Dead character impersonation. I had come back from the restroom and was standing nearby with a fresh beer. He did that flaunty cowboy walk towards me, slightly lifted his rancher hat and in the grittiest country accent, said howdy partner. I was instantly subjugated. A co-worker I was only on friendly terms with but not necessarily friends with brought me coffee. While she was handing it to me she said I let it cool a bit so you can drink it right away. I had some dental work earlier in the week and hot cold stuff was still painful. As I was reaching for it, another colleague bumped her with a cart. The coffee meant for me went straight onto my lap as hers she was holding in her other hand hit the floor. She rushed to our linen cart to grab some towels, threw one on the floor, and then proceeded to use one to wipe my lap while kneeling on the floor. I protested and tried to take the towel away, but she stammered out I messed up and have to make it right. Several other co-workers started teasing both of us. She froze mid-scrub as it dawned on her what it looked like she was doing. Thank God she left the towel where it was and ran off in embarrassment. It was the most action I'd had in several years. We still joke about it now many years later when we bring each other coffee at home. My clumsy girl is still so very thoughtful, but still so damn clumsy. Years ago, I was staying with my family and another family from our neighborhood in a big cabin while we were skiing. I had a huge crush on the oldest son. One morning, I had woken up early and went downstairs to make breakfast. He slept in the living room, so he was able to sneak up on me and do the ol' sneaky side tickle. But there were like 5 seconds where he was very carefully getting into the perfect position to do so, and it really just felt like a movie moment where the wife is making breakfast and her spouse comes up behind her to give her a hug. I knew exactly where he was the whole time because he wasn't really that quiet, but it was so intimate and nice that I just let myself get sneak attacked. One of a bunch of fairly new friends. We all went to local campground in the spring. She was a petite redhead, and was wearing a dark green big puffy sweater, and that is a killer combination to start anyway. Complained it was too hot when the sun came out, and did that take it off arc your back with arms crossed in front move that showed her white t-shirt and a little of what was underneath, then tossed her hair to put it back in place. I had to go splash cold water on my face. Jesus, I can still picture it decades later. We did hook up a few weeks later, but we weren't really compatible. Still have this fond memory though. He was casually talking and reclined back in an office chair with his hands behind his head. Something about the wide stance in his feet and the casualness of it, IDK, gave me a visceral urge to climb on top, I guess. Oh my god, there's this dude at work that just sits like that. He's got big muscles, ugh. I can't even look at this dude anymore. We all were at a holiday pool party. I had brought a few beers and I gave one to a friend. When I opened the bottle and gave it to her, some foam came out. The way she licked the foam off was one of the most erotic things I have ever seen in my life. I still think about it occasionally. This happened a few days back actually. I have a ton of online friends who I play video games with daily, and me and a good friend was playing Warzone 2 with a few other friends. We was messing around in game and I went quiet for a few minutes as I'm known to go silent sometimes as of my social anxiety. He said, "You alright princess?" Just something with the mix of reassurance and the pet name just stirred something inside me. Literally our knees touched when he had scooted over in his office chair to show me how to do something. I was miserable in a relationship and it was like I'd been struck by lightning. We've been together nearly 3 years now. At work one day using the POS system and my co-worker and best friend came over to grab condiments for a table, which was directly beneath the POS. He put his hand on my side small of my back and gently moved me over so he could get to the condiments, all the while striking up an absurdly normal conversation. Literally gave me such intense butterflies and made my heart start pounding in more than one place. I kick. and I forgot how to speak. I definitely couldn't get out of my head how gentle and firm his hands were after that. Anywho, we started dating and have been together a little over a year now, and that lol sheet still gives me butterflies. One time I forgot a pen for myself for a team project we were doing in the college library, and one of the guys in my group just immediately tosses his pen towards me and gets up to walk away. We asked him where he's going and he said he was going to buy more pens at the store because it was his last one. Someone else in the group was like, "It's okay, I have an extra pen for her," so he said while sexily walking away, "It's alright, I needed more anyways and she's probably gonna lose that one too, so I'll have extra." I literally wanted to marry him. Like, why was that so attractive? We were in a club last week with loud music playing. She wanted to go outside to the smoking area, so she leaned right in close to my ear and asked if we could go outside. You might as well have set off a flashbang in my brain. I walked out in a complete daze. Haha. We have a date tomorrow and I'm shooting bricks. He knew that my favorite nostalgic childhood meal was Dino nuggets with smiley face potatoes, and after a really rough week he invited me over to watch a movie and talk it out, but he surprised me with Dino nuggies and smiley potatoes and 2 bottles of my favorite wine. Something about the gesture made me wanna cry, but it also made me want to rail him. We're married now. Once I was out with a group of friends, and we were eating french fries at dinner. This one girl takes a fry, dips it in mayo, and gently puts it on her tongue, all while she had red lipstick on, obviously trying to avoid messing it up. I happened to be watching in her direction, and when I saw the scene my monkey brain just went awooga. Colleague at work. She was on light duty, so they put her in the uniform store. I needed a new high-vis vest. We're talking while she gets the vest. I try it on, and she promptly rips the vest off me. It was hot as duck and I wished we could have ducked right then and there. But apparently it was just to demonstrate the new style of vests being Velcro attached front and back, so if it gets caught in something, it's not going to trap you and cause injury. Sigh. When I was around 20, I had a 55-year-old les co-worker. We were really close. She was super cool, we had a lot in common, and similar outgoing personalities. We'd hang out a lot. One day randomly when we were hugging goodbye, she just lightly pecked my neck. She didn't mean anything by it at all except friendly affection, but boy did that unlock something in me, lol. I think as a dude, I'd never really had my neck kissed or touched before that moment. I put my friend on my shoulders at a concert party. I could feel the warmth between her legs around my neck and that did me in. Had a full chub the rest of the night. Oh man, it wasn't accidental. I was hooking up with the dude. We were still clothed and he was leaning over me in the bed and he hovered his hand between my legs and said, "I can literally feel your heat," and it ducking turns me on and I absolutely melted. It was so primal IDK. In university, I was pitching a fundraiser to another student group, all females. It went over pretty well, except with one. A skinny vixen with jet black hair and boots to match, piercing green eyes, told me right off for thinking I was going to charm the group of girls into going along with a cockamamie scheme where we didn't have insurance, hadn't planned security, how to divide ticket revenue, etc. She was so intelligent and fiery. It was so hot I felt it in my chest. Being told off by an intelligent woman. Our youngest is now 12 years old. There was a chick in our group who was absolutely not my type. We were a bunch of mishmashed people. I was more a geeky dweeb and she was all sorts of cool, tattoos, ripped jeans. Basically she was like the artist Pink. Anyway, me and my buddies went to her and her roommate's place late at night to play some 007, back in the day, and we were being idiots. Well, this chick walks out in just a pair of underwear and a tank top, and just ducking ripped into us for being too loud. I swear, the 4 of us dudes, some of whom were pretty fucking tough, sat there, jaws dropped, feeling an equal parts scared and horny. When she went back into her room we just looked at each other. No words were spoken and we were as quiet as fucking mice as we continued to play. That night and that chick changed something in me. I never hooked up with her in particular, but all other women I've dated have had that hardcore punk will duck you up if you piss 'em off attitude. She's still a really good friend. She's still super fucking rad and super hot. We were playing volleyball, and I was showing off a bit because it's the only sport I'm good at. At one point I tried a poor excuse for a jump. I lost my balance and I was tripping on my own shoes. He immediately grabbed me by the waist and steadied me. I have known him for years, and for most of them we haven't even had the best relationship, but God, did that simple gesture make me change my mind about him. I was at a friend's party and it started raining and then got cold. Was wearing a little black dress, my coat wasn't waterproof and not really warm. My perky nipples were visible through the dress. I was really uncomfortable and wanted to go home or inside the house. This guy came over, stood right in front of me, leaned in gently, close enough to kiss me and wrapped his blazer around me into a snug fit. He said, "Keep it." He smelled really nice and I could tell that had fruity cocktails that night. It suddenly felt way too hot and my legs turned to jelly and fast. I swear if he had touched me I would have made inappropriate sounds and exploded. I ended up going home with his jacket and I kept it wrapped around me a few nights. Finally got his number from my friend and met him again. We went on a few dates. A year later he had to move to a different country for work. We broke up on good terms but I was hoping he'd return and we could restart again. Sadly he settled down before that happened. He is the one that got away. Showed me his tricep tattoo which was a poem in Urdu. Looks like Arabic. I also saw his abs that day cause we went swimming. He's a football player, so he kept it real tight. Asked him out cause I thought he was texting me for 6 months straight cause he liked me like that and then he asked to remain friends. I was having a rough day, not as talkative or smiling as often. We were sitting at a table together. I was next to him but you know it's a normal table so not close. We had friends farther down talking and laughing. In the middle of their antics he gives me all of his attention and asks if I'm okay. I responded half-heartedly, not wanting to make a scene. He then pulls my into him, chair and all, puts his arm around me and has the most concerned expression on his face. I fell in love. Kept asking if I was enjoying myself in a club. They knew I didn't really enjoy going to clubs and hadn't gone to one in months. I wasn't really enjoying it but it was nice that they at least pretended to care as no one really asked me if I was okay with things before they usually just assumed I would be. I can't explain it but one of the physical traits that has always seemed magnetically attractive to me is women with big noses. It's not universal, but some ladies just have a big nose energy thing going on that makes them attractive to me. One of my closest and nearest female friends has a prominent nose that is somewhat hidden by the large frame glasses she wears. Her prescription is pretty severe, so she almost always has them on. The few times she hasn't worn them around me it was momentarily awkward because the Clark Kent Superman effect of seeing her without glasses is jarring for me. One where I got switched on, the other when I switched on someone. Back in the day of long permed in the back Billy Ray Cyrus hair, I did that to my hair, like 30 years ago lol. I was chilling with a good friend of mine watching TV, and she reached over and started running her fingers through the back of my hair. I slowly turned to look at her with a, "You're pushing one of my buttons" surprised look and she giggled and said sorry. We never did anything else. She had me firmly planted and verbally told me I was in the friend zone for life. Then why did a few months later she decide she wanted to get comfortable for the evening of watching movies and hang out in a lacy nightie? Mixed signals. LMAO when I was the guilty one. Took one of my good friends on a friend date. We were both divorced with children from other partners and known each other for almost a decade. Had ended up at my house to watch a movie we rented since nothing good was in the theater after eating a great dinner at one of our local steakhouses. When I just went to put my arm around her shoulders to be comfortable for the movie as the intro credits started, it felt like electricity jumped from my hand and arm as it brushed the back of her neck. She told me she felt that and the electricity shot from her neck all the way down to her toes. She then leaned over and kissed me. Then we didn't get to watch the movie past the opening credits until the next day. We've been married for 16 years now. Side note that the hand-arm electricity thing was an accident, but I didn't know that the previous weekend I already had stoked the fire. She spent the night, slept in another room, to be uptown for errands the next day with one of our friends, but the friend bailed in the morning. She came into my bedroom, I was still in bed, and she flopped on the bed saying her plans were cancelled. I didn't say anything but pulled her towards me, wrapped my arms around her and just rubbed her back gently until she fell asleep in my arms. She later admitted after we ended up together that morning is when she fell for me. She crashed at my place some night after her work because it was late to head back home. We ended up having random convos and things got a little emotional for her and she broke down. I ended up cuddling her to comfort her, and we stayed like that for a solid hour or two and watched stuff on the TV. When I finally left the bed to go sleep on the couch, she held my hand and pulled me closer to ask for another hug. He would invite me just to hang out while he and his friends played games together. I would sit in and joke around with them, just enjoying being included even with limited game knowledge. One time, he was silently working at something that was going to completely wreck the other team sheet, and when they noticed and called him out on it he gave a cartoonish, maniacal laugh and started up a fake evil monologue. The kind that a D&D villain would have, honestly. I don't know why but that really did something to me. Happy to report that he's my boyfriend now. I was the best friend of my actual partner for many years. Definitely one moment that made me question my feelings towards her was when I was playing Guitar Hero and she asked me if she could play. I said yes. Then she proceeded to play through the fire and flames on expert mode perfectly. I've never been so horny just by looking someone doing something clearly not sexual. But that way of playing the guitar clearly made me fall in love with her a little. I'd had a hellish day, and I live with chronic pain. My friend had stopped by, and I was surly and stone-faced. But they sat down on the floor beside me, took off my boots and proceeded to massage my feet. I was shocked, but thankful. But they didn't stop at my feet, they fully massaged my aching calves, and started flexing my ankles in a similar way I do in the mornings. I asked them why they were doing that, and they quietly replied that they had paid attention to my PT habits. It was the single most intimate moment. There was also one time I saw them hoist a 120-pound crate like it was full of styrofoam, carrying on a full conversation with me. Moments after, they touched my shoulder and brushed my neck with the gentlest, softest touch and I was keen to drag them off to parts unknown right then. Yeah, so, we've been married for a few years now.